do not go away. And they're not simply, they are only articulated in the Qur'an, but they are questions that are firmly rooted in the human heart. They are firmly rooted in the human heart. Afillahi shak? Is there doubt in Allah? This is a Qur'anic question. Afillahi shak? Is there doubt in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where then are you going? This is a Qur'anic question. Where then are you going? You have to ask yourself this. Allah doesn't say, where did you come from? Because a lot of people don't have to ask that question if they don't want to. It's behind them. It's the past. But everybody has to ask that question. Where are you going? Where are you going? These are the Qur'anic questions. And so Allah tells us that He created man, عَلَّمُهُ الْبَيَانِ. Now the human being has been given this unique aspect, this unique element. Though we can recognize communication amongst other life forms on the planet, we can see that there is communication. I mean, you can see communication if you spend any time watching an anthill, you will see extraordinary communication going on between the ants. Birds now, we know that they communicate. Bees, the queen bee does a dance and lets the other bees know which direction to fly towards the honey, and she's never even seen the place where the honey is. And this is still something they don't know where she gets this information, but we know because Allah says in the Quran, وَوَحَيْنَا إِلَى النَّحْلِ. We have revealed to the bee. And this revelation is, in the Quranic terms, ilham, inspiration. The bee is an inspired creature. You see. So the human being has this unique element, which is that we can articulate, and we are aware of our articulation. We're not simply like creatures that communicate on a gross level, but we communicate on an abstract level. We move to the abstract. What this allows us to do is to understand the abstract. Now the greatest abstraction is an understanding of the concept of Tawheed, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's unity. This is the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the human being, which is to recognize the essential unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means of His creation, of Allah's creation. Now in the Quran it says, سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. We will show them our signs in themselves and on the horizon until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. And isn't it enough for them that your Lord is over all things witnessing? Is over all things witnessing. The signs now are, and this surah is a beautiful example of this. These signs are unfolding at such a rate that there are not enough intellects to interpret the information coming in. That is how fast information is coming at this time. At this juncture in the human saga, there is so much information coming in to the astronomers, to the biologists, to the geneticists, to the psychologists, to the geologists, all of these different fields, that they literally cannot synthesize it. But what you will see, an underlying thread, is that in each one of these fields, they are singularly recognizing fundamental truths that the Quran articulated to the human being, and this is an uncreated book, articulated to the human being through the bayan, through the clarification, 1400 years ago. So there is the merciful who has taught the Quran, created the human being and taught him articulation. The human being is placed between these two things, Quran and the ability to understand the Quran. If either one of them is not present, then we don't call this creature a human being. we call him less than human. If a person does not think, he is not really a member of the human race, because this is what has made us human, the ability to think. You know, Descartes, the French philosopher, said, I think, therefore I am. And a German phenomenologist much later came along and said, no, he got it wrong. I am, therefore I should think. The fact that you have the ability to think is all the more reason that you should. And yet we live in a society that is absolutely bent. It is bent on preventing people from thinking. And this is an extraordinary thing to me. Because they think, at a very high level in this society, they think very deeply. They really do. I mean, you can see it if you go and look at the stuff they're researching, what they're thinking about. And yet, there is, and if I was paranoid, I would tend to think that this was really a conspiracy against the human race. That's what I would think. If I was of a paranoid personality, I would definitely think that there are actually people that don't want human beings to think. They want to keep them dumb, like animals. They want to keep them literally chained in their own minds, penned in their own minds, like chickens in a coop. I mean, this is what one would suspect if one looked objectively at the media, at the educational system in this country. There's a beautiful book that I would recommend all of you to read. It's by John Taylor Gatto. It's called Dumbing Us Down. And it's by a man who was given the award of the Teacher of the Year award in the state of New York City, one of the toughest states, if not the toughest, to teach in. And he was given Teacher of the Year award. And in this book he says very clearly, I am not a teacher. We do not teach. We indoctrinate. This is what we do. This is what the educational system is. It is a process of indoctrination. It indoctrinates you into the logic of this system. You see. Now, unfortunately, what happens when you come out at the end of it, and for all of you students, I'm going to depress you. When you come out of it at the end, you see you have three choices. Well, one of them is not really a choice. And you make this choice at some point in your life. You can choose to become what they call a professional. Go into law, go into medicine, something like that, a professional field. Or you can choose to become a technician, go into the technical fields. Once you do that, when you make that choice, you have chosen to be co-opted by a system and become a servant of that system. It is a choice that you make. It is a conscious choice that you make to be co-opted by a system that is bent on exploiting other people. It's bent on the continuity of human suffering. And this is not, I'm not just making things up. I mean, it's all documented. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see what, the foundations of this society. And that the basis of this society in the United States of America, in particular, and we are in the heart of darkness. I mean, this is it. We're in it. That this society is, in the words of the Hopi Indian language, Pawakatsi. It is an entity that exists by sucking the life out of others. This is how this society sustains itself, by sucking the life out of others. There, if you look in creation, and Allah constantly tells us to do this, there are basically three forms. Well, there's more, but I'm going to just give very rough. There are three forms of major life forms. There's what's called life forms based on predation, which is preying on weak. And then there's life forms based on parasitism, where they're parasites. They don't kill the thing. They just suck the life out of it and use it. Now, some parasites are more harmful than others, you see. I mean, you can call, for instance, somebody on welfare,